Okay, so it'd be good to start with a little bit of background on Megaport as a company, but I guess a brief history, any key milestones, that kind of thing, just to introduce the company. That'd be great.
Yeah, thanks, Phil. Okay, so Megaport is a global connectivity business. We help our customers to securely connect their people and their places to their IT services. They could be in data centers, they could be in providers like SaaS or hyperscale cloud. But Megaport's proposition is a little bit different in terms of it's delivered all via an online portal, and we specialize in network as a service. So just like any other as a service, it's all done through the portal, as I say, super easy, and can be ready to use just after a few clicks. We just actually marked the 10th anniversary of our business last year. So we have a few celebrations, but also it took time to really take stock on how far the business has come over the last decade. So started back in 2013 in Brisbane. The company was born out of the data center scene, with our founding team getting a bit fed up with having to deal with carriers getting connectivity into their data centers. So, they were thinking there's got to be an easier way to set about creating effectively a platform whereby they have the idea of moving towards having the connectivity in place sort of ahead of time, and then use software to deliver that connectivity in a much easier and quicker way. The next level was really how do you put the customer in control of that, allowing them to then just choose the connectivity that they want, how fast, when they need it, and making it pay as you go. So it was a huge departure from the traditional experience of connectivity. So all of a sudden, yeah, the customer can organize connections from whatever they wanted, choosing that speed. And then the real kicker was making it super flexible, i.e. no rigid contracts. So all of a sudden you've got this notion of, well, connectivity used to take an age, it was a pretty rigid process, to now being able to just after a few clicks, choose what they want, when they want, making it pay as you go, and having no contract terms. So that was really when Megaport thought they were onto something. So as you'd imagine, the business has grown just beyond data center connectivity, going into those public cloud providers, out of Australia into Asia Pacific, North America, and across to Europe. And to this day, Megaport is accessible from 850 locations around the world, 25 countries it operates, and we've got more cloud on-ramps or connection opportunities than any other platform in the world. So it's just seen this massive shift from a few guys in the room 10 years ago thinking there's got to be an easy way, to all of a sudden having this massive global platform that customers can log on to and get what they need when they need it.
Okay, that's a pretty impressive journey. And in terms of the actual sort of technology portfolio, I think you give, if I'm right, you break it down basically into connect and services. So that's obviously two short words, but I'm sure behind that there's quite a lot of stuff going on. So perhaps you can enlighten us as to what that is.
Yeah. Okay, so strip back, what we're doing is we're providing that connectivity. What we've done is we've just packaged it up in a really easy to consume and use model. But the key use cases for the platform are connecting data centers to data centers, or connecting data centers to the cloud, connecting cloud environments together, and then bringing in traffic from the branches, the user locations, to get access to those services. And all those options lead to a more modern network experience that allows customers to move at a speed that a traditional network has never presented before. But in terms of services, there's options there. And it really comes down to whether a customer needs to meet us in a data center location and physically plug into our network. Alternatively, they can use some of our virtual network products and just be able to deploy them and say, I need to connect A to B and go around that. So we've developed a suite of products, and the crucial point around Megaport is once you've got a connection into the platform itself, it then allows you to easily be able to connect to anything else that sits on the Megaport network. And the products are really down to, again, it's that physical aspect, yes or no, the connections themselves, and then some of the intelligence that allows you to route the traffic around the network as you need. And we've tried to keep it as simple as that. So it's not a broad portfolio of services. It's designed to make things as smooth and as easy as possible for our customers. So you are right, there are different access types, and then it's the connectivity beyond that to getting you where you need to go.
Again, in terms of sort of latest happenings, events, I think you've fairly recently introduced some new portal features or functionality. So perhaps you can tell us, yeah, what's the latest, what's going on?
Yeah, so as it's all software based in our world, there's a constant stream of, tweaks, updates, releases, both to the portal and the services that we support around there. So we're always looking, obviously, to keep that key theme of simplicity. So making it as easy to use as possible. So there might be an enhancement to make a shortcut to do this or increase that, making things more visual. And so people can log on and see what they need to and visualize what they're going to deploy and then literally click and make that happen in reality. Um, but I suppose in terms of updates around the platform itself, things, as you can probably guess, are always getting bigger, faster, being able to do more in a shorter period of time. We used to talk about, gigabits, but now we're talking about tens of or hundreds of gigabits around the network. So not only is the software drive, it's the underlying technology that sits underneath that. So from a kit perspective and the actual cables in the ground, etc., that need to be able to support all of that. We continue to grow our relationships with the tech vendors as well. So the likes of Cisco, Fortinet, Palo Alto, etc., whereby customers can now deploy their favorite network tech directly onto the Megaport platform, which gives them that familiar experience of control and security whilst enjoying the benefit of the underlying Megaport technology underneath that gets them where they need to go. So they're really the key drivers. What we are also seeing at this moment in time and have been for some while is a huge uptick in the demand for more control at a global scale. This comes back to the visual side of things as well, but it's really around customers looking to modernize their international connectivity requirements. So connecting multiple regions together, how those services are hanging together. So we've developed a suite of tools that allows customers to really drive the operational benefit at a global scale, all through a single vision in that portal.
And in terms of the channel specifically, I believe you've got the Megaport partner program. So it'd be good to understand, if you like, what are the component parts of that? What is the offering to the channel, MSPs, and I don't know if you get traditional VARs as well, but
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So obviously my role within the business is supporting our partner base through the channel. Megaport's partner program was started a couple of years ago now, and even in that short period of time, it's had a couple of iterations. But really, partner programs shouldn't be complex, we set out to be, pretty accessible from day one. So there is a lightweight agreement, as you'd imagine, that enables our partner to go and sell our services or resell our services or use our technology on a global scale, should they want to. And it's got all of the usual mechanics. So there are a suite of tools for deal registration, for deal estimators and things like that. But the real meat of it, if you like, is around us as a supporting cast to the partner. So whether or not it be commercial or technical support or marketing enablement, these sorts of things, Megaport's extremely proud to offer all of those things in abundance to our partners. So no matter whether or not they are a global telco or systems integrator or a regional VAR, our partner base is that broad. They have not only the tools but the expertise within Megaport to support them at that scale. So that's hugely important to us. But like I say, it shouldn't be complex. It's not rocket science. We're just here to support our partners with not only what we think is great technology, but a great support and cash from a partner program.
yeah. And in terms of how you would distinguish yourselves from other, similar opportunities, I guess the channel folks have. I mean, it sounds to me as if the technology solution you're offering is, sells itself. So that's obviously attract a lot of attention. But are there any other things you think you do particularly well compared to, other opportunities for channel folk?
Well, from a technical perspective, obviously, our wealth of experience in the past 10 years, has led us to build out the platform in a way that we think it actually adds value to our partners in the opportunities, whether they are a cloud service provider that wants people to connect to them to consume their services, or they're a network provider that telling connections to customers for various things. We have a range of options within the program that allows us to do business with the way that partner wants to do. So whether or not they want to resell or refer, customer ownership options around that, we're here to support them on both sides of things. But also, just going back to the supporting cast, and I guess this does differentiate us in some aspects in the market, is that yes, we are a global organization, but that localized support. Okay, so whether or not you are a service provider here in the UK, obviously we have our cast here. Whether or not you're deploying in France, for example, or Germany and need local speaking people on the ground, we have those people ready in place to support you, as I say, from a commercial, a technical, or marketing perspective. And it's really just applying that to the everyday for the partner, making sure that that's accessible, not difficult to get hold of when needs be, and we support our partners in the right way. So they're the real meaningful differentiators. You could say we do this shiny or this better, but the meaningful things are really where the partner gets benefit from Megaport.
Okay, and maybe if we can just sort of broaden the conversation out a little bit as to some of the industry, I won't call them pay points, I guess opportunities or issues that are around at the current time. And I guess AI would be the not the elephant in the room because everyone is talking about it,
Yeah.
but obviously it's a huge impending opportunity, etc. I'm just wondering what sort of impacts that's having on you, if you know, if any,
Yeah.
and how, I guess, and most importantly, how you can help folks, both your channel people and obviously their customers to, get to grips with AI in terms that you mentioned earlier about, gigabits, etc. I'm guessing, feeds and speeds are going to be important, but yeah, just what it is that you bring to the AI party, I suppose.
Well, it's funny, and AI, as well as a few other trends, absolutely does have an impact. And it's all to do with the way that ultimately a customer wants to consume something, and that causes ripples through every aspect of IT, I guess. But Megaport is all about getting the businesses connected to the services that they want and they need. So as trends come and go, ultimately, Megaport is a facilitator in a lot of that. And you just kind of hit the nail on the head. It's the thirst for bandwidth a lot of the time towards a particular trend. And AI has now found its way into so much of the mainstream. It's baked into so many of the applications that we use on a daily basis. So of course, the public cloud hyperscalers have brought their solutions to the table, and obviously people are connecting to those. So it's just another application within their portfolio. So nothing new there. But it's also brought about a breed of new providers that are specifically geared up to handle the demands in AI, whether or not it's the technology or the software that they're developing. Some of the players around the GPU market, the GPU as a service providers. And it's ultimately creating this thirst for their product, which a lot of the time products are only as good as, reliable connectivity to those. So that's how we see ourselves, ideally positioned in the middle of all of that, and providing a mutual benefit to not only the customer who wants to connect to that, but also the provider of that service, who obviously needs their customers to come in and connect that. And just like Megaport has partnered with, many of the traditional hyperscale public cloud providers to provide that connectivity option, we work with many of the new breed technology providers as well, and offering them that same service, that same way of their customers connecting to them to consume their product. So it's a kind of a mutually beneficial circle. And like I say, Megaport's platform is right at the center of that.
And another trend, I guess, would be multi-cloud. It seems to be becoming increasingly popular. And again, is that something that you contribute towards facilitating that, ecosystem, I guess, where people are building out various or accessing, several different clouds, etc. Yeah, just where you sit within that, I suppose.
Obviously, you say there it's becoming increasingly popular. I think we've seen in our business, it's the norm and has been for some time now. I'd say the average customer of our service enjoys 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different cloud providers in one way or another, whether that's the big household name or some of the SaaS applications. They all are our destinations. Their IT infrastructure is no longer in the cupboard. It's sprayed across the spectrum of the different providers that are out there. So absolutely, our customers have not only connected into us to get access to the array of providers, because one connection into Megaport allows you to access anything on the network. So take one connection in and then create several to the different cloud providers that you need access to. But we'd also developed a set of services that are designed to maximize the performance of that multi-cloud environment. So we, without getting too technical, we have services that enable extremely low latency private access between different cloud environments. So if you've got something in Azure and AWS, let's say, for very simplistic examples, and they need to talk to each other, you don't need that data coming all the way back down to the data center to go back up. So let's make them talk to each other. So we have routing environments and different tool sets to optimize that, not only from a performance perspective, but from a commercial perspective as well, because what a lot of customers don't always understand is the expense of bringing data out of a cloud environment to put it back into another and then back out again. So some of our solutions help curb the commercial impact. Cloud shock is a terminology that's used a lot of the time. So commercial and technical benefits of multi-cloud is very much been a Megaport's, I suppose, platform for many, many years now. But you are right, in terms of the multi-cloud, it's definitely here to stay and will ever get more diverse as time goes on.
And maybe one other, I'm thinking data sovereignty. I'm not sure I've ever met anyone who can explain to me the complete nuances of it. It's a complicated issue, but again, is that an area where you can help customers with their need, I guess, to access things? Well, not so much access things, but where their data, is in transit, where it ends up living, etc. Just thoughts around that.
It's a funny thing, isn't it, data sovereignty? It means different things to different people, really, depending, I guess, on the market that they're in, the compliance, regulation, etc., that sits on them as an industry. But whilst Megaport prides itself on being this global platform that enables people to do things at that scale, absolutely at a local level, if you like, we've engineered partnerships with the data center operators, the service providers at that level also. So whilst we have this broad ecosystem, we sort of by default have the localized ecosystem as well. So when we do have customers that have these stringent compliance measures, or I suppose a skepticism of using an international provider for whatever reason, they have options across the Megaport network, and that benefit transcends to their arena of, okay, well, I can choose this provider because I know exactly where their data center happens to be, and I know the postcode, for example, or I need this provider because they have a particular application that meets this compliance check, and they can engineer their own ecosystem, cherry picking from the Megaport portfolio and being able to enjoy all of that benefit just at a much more local scale. So it's all around options and taking the level of, I suppose, agnosticity for that across all of the DCs, all of the providers, and just giving that customer that access into, okay, this is what I need, and this is how I'll access it.
And in terms of one other sort of top topic that I guess is creeping up the agenda, if not near the top these days, sustainability. Again, it potentially means different things to different people, but I think everyone is on some kind of journey towards whether it's net zero or sustainability, whatever they call it, and whether they're willingly going there or they just doing it because they have to tick that box in their the corporate report or whatever. But just the thoughts, I suppose, as to what yourselves, Megaport, are doing around sustainability, and again, any ways in which you're also sort of facilitating customers on that journey as well.
Well, I suppose there's two strands to it. Megaport ourselves as an organization, I suppose we have the luxury in only being 10 years old. So these issues have ever been apparent within obviously the industry. So the way that we set ourselves up as a business, we are a pretty remote workforce. So we have a fairly lean footprint across how we operate. The network itself and the tools that we use, and indeed the data centers in which our equipment lives, are all designed that way to have as minimal impact around footprint as possible. Modernized technology, also making sure that the energy in those facilities is sustainably sourced, etc. So we do operate with that level of responsibility. In fact, our founder, Bevan Slattery, is extremely keen on conservation as well as sustainability. I won't go into that too much, but he's a huge ambassador for conservation in Australia. And we carry that forward. So, but from a service perspective and how we help our customers with those objectives is, if you think about what we've done, is we've built this network that ultimately allows customers to connect to and take a portion of themselves. So what we're doing is allowing them to achieve their objectives, meaning they don't have to go out and build these services themselves. So of course that's removing duplication of people from a power consumption perspective, from a hardware provisioning perspective, and all of those things added up really can make a difference to the overall footprint. If you look at 100 customers doing those things by themselves, or owning their own networks, or building these things in their own data centers, and then rationalizing that down onto a multi-tenanted infrastructure, there's huge benefits from the sustainable side of things. So yeah, it's always at the forefront of our mind, and I think every corporate or enterprise these days will have that on their agenda. So yes, it is a tick box, but also I don't think it goes without any procurement these days having that factored in one way or another.
Okay, and maybe just in sort of finishing up, perhaps a bit of advice for specifically channel companies. Clearly, there are many vendors out there, lots of different technology solutions. What kind of advice would you give to them when they're coming to evaluate? I mean, say, a Megaport type solution. What are the key questions to be asking, or what do they need to look for and find within a potential partner, so that they are not going to be maybe disappointed a little bit further down the line when it doesn't quite work out as they thought? Just any advice you'd care to share?
Yeah, well, I think obviously encourage due diligence around how services are built up. I think there's nothing more telling than seeing things how they work, and what we'll always encourage when we engage with a partner is obviously showing people how things work. There's a lot of kind of competition in this area around talking about secure private connectivity that's actually in parts does rely on internet, which at the end of the day is a best endeavors network. So take a step back from that, actually evaluate to see, is this ticking the boxes for enterprise grade? That's obviously you want to be able to rely and fall on that as and when you need it. But also the ease of doing business. And that's what Megaport prides itself on around this, is that there's options pretty much at every stage. You want to avoid being locked in to a particular technology or a particular tech provider. A Megaport at every stage for our customers and our partners provides options around that. So we're not being rigid enough to say this is how it needs to be done. This is the partner you use. This is the location. We give the options for delivery around that. So come and have a look at it, evaluate it, allow us to show you how it works. Align that to also your key objectives as well as a business. There's no point in trying to do something vastly different from what you do today. So whether or not you're a value-add reseller selling Fortinet, for example, then there's a partnership there between Megaport and Fortinet that allows you to take this service and deliver additional values to your existing customers as well as new. Or you're a cloud service provider that wants to now add connectivity to that portfolio and basically drive the incremental revenue for those services. And I think the ease of doing business and the ease of adding to portfolio in Megaport is really there. So I'd just encourage contact and come for an open and free conversation and see where it goes and see if it's right for your business.
Okay, I mean, it's been great to chat, and you outlined the company, technology, various issues, stuff really eloquently, and been fascinating to hear what you got to say, Mike. So really enjoyed it, and thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Absolutely, my pleasure, Phil. Thanks very much.
Thanks again.